As 2026 gets underway, I thought I would share a brief perspective on how organizations should approach these energy markets. We're seeing quite a bit more uncertainty, a lot more volatility, and the fundamentals that form these markets has really changed even just since 5 years ago. And I think companies, organizations used to think of these costs as we can just purchase the contract for a couple of years, set it on the shelf, pretty much forget it, and then we'll get back to it when that contract's close to expiring. I've said it for years, contract expiration is not a strategy and certainly holds more true today than probably ever, as there are several facets that now influence these markets and really shape how these prices and what the potential risk is for companies going forward. Used to be seasonality was the driver. You could essentially pick a time of year. You never bought power in the summer. You didn't buy gas in the winter. And you would find a relatively decent contract. You probably even do better than you did the last time. But that no longer holds true. In fact, it feels like it's slightly inverted even. 2025 saw us with an ample year of both production and storage combined with fairly temperate climate throughout the year. So no heavy extremes. There were a few probably days here or there on either side. But that didn't change pricing. In fact, natural gas remained really propped up and pretty choppy, especially towards the end of the year as we got into winter. And I'm sure, as you're probably aware, during this storm, we saw an extreme amount of volatility just on the back of a few cold days across most of the U.S. So those things are changing and they're bringing quite a bit of risk just in the purchasing process and certainly in the timing of things. And like I said, gas, that's probably the most influential driver these days in energy costs. Certainly as U.S. has become more of a gas exporter, and the fact that this is now a globally priced commodity, combine that with the fact that more and more of our power grid is featured with natural gas as we've retired coal, and gas sort of is the responder on the margins when the renewables aren't performing. It has it even more influential than it was before. And so keeping an eye on gas as you buy power should be a premier tenet of any good strategy. Um, you know, I've talked to people so far, leaving last year, coming into this year. There's folks that maybe had purchased power, gas. It's been a few years and now they're in this market and they're getting quite a bit of sticker shock. I've had multiple conversations where people are sort of paralyzed by the impending doom that's coming from all this load growth in the power sector, and then folks that are on the other side of the spectrum that say, well, maybe this is a little hype, and eventually things will get back to business as usual. It's probably somewhere in between. And I think as an organization, you should probably consider, how does our energy strategy address both sides of those scenarios. Renewables is still a key component to this equation. Certainly, what used to be probably a means for checking a box on a sustainability report is now a fundamental tenet for a long-term strategy. Doing a solar PPA, maybe combining with a wind PPA, gives customers, those that have done it, certainly ones that did it just a few years ago, basically insulated them from all this risk that's currently driving market fundamentals today. So don't discount those as only a solution for corporate sustainability goals. Those projects and the sort of long-term nature and the price formation of those can really lend itself to a risk mitigation strategy. Unfortunately, with a lot of the incentives being removed and certainly sunsetted early, I think that market's going to be pretty much a seller's market here. But that doesn't mean that you can't find a means to establish the right project, the right contract to fit within your particular strategy. So overall, I think really what needs to happen is organizations need to consider probably over the next 6 months, how are they going to respond to this market? What is their risk appetite? Are there opportunities that they maybe hadn't uncovered previously? And then thinking more long term in how do we as an organization control how we generate power, how we receive natural gas? Is there means that are alternatives to this current structure? Because I think going in and out, buying contracts year over year is just going to continue to be challenging, and certainly affecting folks going forward. So always happy to talk more about this. You can reach out anytime. Certainly share your organization's current situation, and happy to help you work through it. So thanks for watching.